Hi and welcome to U218. My name's Jeff Horne and this is a review for Glass. You do not have to have seen either Unbreakable or Split in order to watch Glass and get something out of it, because the main character traits and the plot points are repeated for you anyway, but obviously it will make more sense having seen both films. The events of Glass don't seem to happen that far after Split. It's got some of the same characters from Split, so you can see that they're meant to be of the same age. And it starts with Bruce Willis, who in his spare time he looks for trouble and helps people along with his son. Running parallel with that is James McAvoy's character, or characters I suppose, who have kidnapped 4 more girls, and Bruce Willis finds out about this and goes looking for them and finds them, and the 2 worlds are brought together. And then those 2 worlds are brought together with Samuel L.Jackson's character, who is now living in a mental asylum, and brought together by Sarah Paulson, who is the psychiatrist who has been given 3 days to convince these 3 that they are not actually superheroes, but she needs to get them to admit that that they are suffering from effectively hallucinations and delusions of grandeur. I won't go into how the plot unfolds. Suffice to say that being together all in one place moves the plot forward significantly, and it's not a thing that several of the characters are against. There's always something in a film, particularly a science fiction film, that is a premise that you just have to go with, and if you can't go with it, you can't allow the filmmakers to get away with that thing, then the whole premise, the whole show that you're watching falls apart. I'll give you an example. Inception, which I absolutely love and I think is very clever. My dad couldn't get through the concept of going into other people's minds to discover things at all. He couldn't accept that was a valid way to extract information. And of course that's the central premise of the entire film. At the end, when most audiences were getting excited by these 3 different stories happening at the same time, he couldn't give a damn at all, because he hadn't accepted the central premise of the film. It does happen to me sometimes. I'm struggling to think of a film where I've done that, but it happens to quite a lot of people with M. Night Shyamalan's films. The Visit is one that I did not go with. I hated the central premise of it, and I didn't go with it at all, and I hate that film. So, back to Glass. If you go with it, and I am, as an audience member, I am more inclined to go with the premise than I am not to. I do love a superhero film, I love a comic book. I used to collect comics a long time ago, but I did give it up much earlier than most comic book collectors do. And in general, I love film, so I'm willing to go with it and go along with the premise and wholeheartedly accept it. And I'd already accepted Split, I'd already accepted Unbreakable, so I was along for the ride here. I did really enjoy it, but it's not a perfect film. I think the main problem with it is pacing. It's got several false starts. It feels like it's building and building, and then it turns out that it's not time to be building and building yet. The main issue that I have with Shyamalan's films is that when I sit down, from the first moment I'm wondering, what's the twist going to be? And that sort of gets in the way of my enjoyment of the film now, because if there's always going to be a twist, it's not a surprise when there is one, it's just a surprise what the twist might be. So you're trying to second guess yourself. And this does have one, and it's kind of okay. And Glass does get there, it gets to an ending. It also sort of tries to start something else, but it could quite happily just end where it is. And because of that, you actually think, oh, actually, yeah, it's done all right. It's kept me. It is entertaining. It's I think what's notable about it is probably the restrictions, which I think are self-imposed because it was all a bit of a risk. I read somewhere that the budget was only about 20 million. Even for 20 million, which is very low for a mainstream film now, everyone involved would have had to have taken a huge pay cut. So there was a time where Bruce Willis would have earned almost that just on his own. Samuel L. Jackson must be on 4 or 5 million himself, or again, he will have been at some point. I don't know how much James McAvoy is on, but it's building with every film. And Glass is a James McAvoy film in terms of billing. He is first billed, then Bruce Willis, and then Samuel L. Jackson is the and character. So he's a supporting character, even though his character is the title character, which is all a bit weird. Shyamalan is both very good and very poor in terms of camera placement and camera movement. This has got a bit of both. It's got the more interesting shots. It's got shots that move upside down, which twist around while you're watching them. But it's also got some pretty pedestrian stuff as well. But overall, one cancels the other out and you're left with something average. Overall, where it fits in terms of the trilogy is pretty easy for me. Unbreakable's the best film, this is the second best film, and then Split's the third. But Split is still above average, so you've got a collection of 3 above average films, which is pretty unusual. So Glass by M. Night Shyamalan in 2019, take a look, it's pretty good. So thanks for watching. Comment below if you agree or disagree, give me a like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you soon. I've been Jeff Horne and this is U218.